It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Jeff Grubb from GamesBeat.com talking about the Xbox Series X without an embargo. I could talk about whatever I want. I could say how hot it is, but you're going to have to wait and see. Watch the video to see how hot it is. Or maybe watch my other video. I might do another video on how hot it is as well. We'll see. A month from now, gamers will begin getting their hands on the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. And after a few weeks with the Xbox Series X, I'm ready to move on from the current generation of consoles. I talked about this in my original impressions piece, and most of that, all of that still holds. I don't want to go back to the Xbox One or PlayStation 4. The Xbox Series X is just so much better. By now, if you've paid attention, you know what to look forward to. You won't see a striking difference in screenshots or videos. We've hit a point of diminishing returns for game visuals. It's just the case. Uh, but playing games on the Xbox Series X is faster, it's more responsive, and it's just all around more pleasant. It's especially noticeable as I've used the Xbox One X recently to do some comparisons between the two. And unlike that aging console, the Xbox Series X feels like it was built by people who believe in video games. Maybe they have some plans to sell you TV and video content, but the obvious primary goal of Microsoft is to get you on Xbox Game Pass and playing more games than you ever played before. And the Xbox Series X was built to be a joy when taking on that task. What about the games, though? Right? That's what we're all here to do. That's what this whole thing is about. I think we know what to expect from Microsoft for a while in terms of their really big games. It's going to take a year or two for those to start coming out. Other than Halo, which who knows when that's going to come out? That got delayed. Who knows? I can only speak to a handful of games that I've gotten a chance to try that are updated specifically for Xbox Series X. Or in the case of like Gears Tactics, it truly feels like a cross generation game. It's difficult to tell though if these games are using all of the Xbox Series X's features, let alone using them to like their full extent. I will say that Gears Tactics does seem to draw more power from the wall, does use more energy when it's actually going on the Xbox Series X, and the Xbox Series X does get slightly warmer when it's playing that game compared to games that just are updated and are running in backward compatibility mode. Talk about that more in a bit. But overall, the reality is I'm not expecting games to blow me away immediately. It's going to take time for developers to make games that are going to take advantage of the new CPU and the really fast SSD. They're eventually going to get to a point where their worlds are built around these new technologies. But for now, I'm not expecting much. Maybe we'll get one or two games on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X that really do take advantage of some of this technology. I'm thinking of like Ratchet and Clank, but that's one game, and there's going to be dozens of games coming out over the next 6 months. So it's like when I think about like, oh, do I need like the big exclusive? I don't know. Not right now. Right now, I'm just happy to have something that's going to be better for playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Rocket League. I've pointed it out in a number of stories now and videos. I think it's worth repeating. Hardware is not the thing holding back developers anymore. Not really. You remember back, when we went from the NES to the Super Nintendo, there was an immediate and an obvious jump in video game quality and the quality of the visuals because the hardware was so much more powerful than the previous generation. Uh, the next gen hardware is more powerful than the previous generation, but these diminishing returns just mean that uh, most games are going to end up looking pretty close to what they looked like last generation, and that's fine. The thing is that last generation we got some really beautiful games, and it wasn't about, oh, they found some special trick in the hardware. They just had more time and money. For an example of that, look to the graphical showcases of games like Gears 5 or The Last of Us Part 2. Those games didn't need next gen machines because they had gigantic budgets. That's the difference. But that doesn't mean that games can't look and run better. They absolutely can, and the Xbox Series X is proving that to me. I've played mostly backward compatible games. I've got my hands on a few that aren't, that are, updated for the system. I wouldn't necessarily say any of these games were built from the ground up for Xbox Series X. They all are also on other hardware. PC obviously, but I think they're all also on Xbox One X. So they're all cross-gen games. But like Gears 5 runs at 120 frames per second in its multiplayer mode now. Codemasters updated Dirt 5 to run at 120 hertz as well. And I really love 120 hertz. I see a big difference between that and 60 frames per second. I'm not convinced everyone will, but I think, and I'm gonna come back to this phrasing a lot. It's a good sign. It's a good sign that we are talking about 120 hertz at all on console, because that means we will likely hit 60 frames per second a lot more often this generation than we did in the previous generation or any previous generation, except for like the Xbox's SSD is a revelation. Yeah, it loads games faster, but it also makes everything else you do with the console quicker. The system starts faster. That instant on mode really does happen in an instant. But even if you unplug the Xbox Series X from the wall and turn it back on, the process to get it back, back to the menu is 30 seconds. Not even, not really. And navigating the interface is more responsive, more snappy. I'm not using the final launch Xbox Series X UI, but this preview build is a great start, and I'm really happy with it. I am never waiting for it to catch up with me. But then what about stuff like quick resume? We talked about quick resume a lot. Let's get into some of the nitty gritty here. So let's talk about like the benefit of quick resume real quick. Why would you want to switch between 3 or 4 games back to back so quickly? You don't. That's not how you're going to use this. This acts as like a virtual bookmark. And I think a good example is you are working your way through a really big game, and then suddenly a new release comes out and you're like, well, I'm gonna put this other game aside and I'm gonna play through this other game because I know it's shorter. I'll get through it in about a week. You play through it in a week and then you go back to your other game. When you go to boot up that other game, it's just going to take you back to exactly where you left off via quick resume. And this works whether you're playing with digital games or on a disc. Your disc games all get loaded onto your drive anyhow. I've also looked a little bit deeper to see how quick resume handles games that have an online connection. Fallout 76, when I do a quick resume there, it kicks me out to the main menu. So that's frustrating. But I was surprised to see, surprised and happy that Hitman 2 handled it really well. Hitman 2 connects to a server when you're playing, and I use quick resume to get back in there, and it's like, oh, I was disconnected, and okay, well then I'll just connect you. I'll just connect you. All right, we're good to go. Keep playing, and that was really nice to see. To me, this is a good sign that developers have a way. There's an option there where if your game works more like Hitman 2, you can make sure that it's going to play nice with quick resume. So hopefully we see a lot more of that. What about multiple accounts though? You got little Timmy playing a game over here, little Susie playing a game over there. Are they going to be able to have the benefits of quick resume if they're taking turns? Yes. So little Timmy's playing the Titanfall 2 campaign. He takes a break. Little Susie comes over and she signs into her account and she boots up Hitman 2. Little Susie is crazy about Hitman 2. She loves to just murder people, just a huge fan of murder. She plays that for a while, whatever, and then she walks away, and then Timmy comes back, signs into his account, and it's like nothing ever happened. It's like she never did anything. Titanfall 2 goes right back to where he left off. It's great. However, if little Susie tried to play the Titanfall 2 campaign after Timmy did, that wouldn't work. At least in my testing, I haven't been able to get that to work. The system is only going to have like one game active for one profile at a time. If you try to open up that game while you're both signed in, it's just going to open up the quick resume that it already has saved for the original player. It's not going to open up a new window of that, at least not yet. That's just not how it works yet. Probably never, actually. What about that 1 terabyte expansion card from Seagate for $220? I did a teardown of that. I think I'm going to do a video. I haven't recorded it yet, but I should be doing a video separate for that as well. We'll see when that happens. But basically, the quick version is that when I tore it down, looked and saw what was inside, I think that price is pretty fair. But I also think based on the 40 128 layer NAND flash memory from SK Hynix, don't worry, you don't need to understand anything I just said. But based on knowing that that's what's inside there, the price on that Seagate card should come down. If it doesn't, that's a shame. It absolutely should, but it should. And so my expectation is that within a year or so, within a year and a half, we should expect the 1 terabyte version to come down. Probably a 2 terabyte version gets introduced at that $220, $250 level, maybe. And then yeah, and then maybe $170 for the 1 terabyte version. And I think that's a lot. That's a lot easier to swallow. I think that's a lot more fair. So then my advice here is wait. Just wait. Don't go out and buy this card unless you absolutely know you need it. If you can wait, wait and see how you actually handle games on the Xbox Series X. You can use external storage for backward compatible games. You could run them off there. You could also store your next gen games on that stuff and then put it back onto the internal storage to actually play those games. So see if you can make that solution work with an external SSD over USB, whether you're using like a SATA SSD, which you can get pretty cheap, and you use an external like USB 3.0 connector. You could connect that, and that's going to be very fast. That loads games very fast. I have a video on that. You can find that on my channel. There's a story about that going up today. Um, so yeah, just wait. And then if you find that you do need that 1 terabyte expansion, or you do need more storage, and you need that fast storage that is proprietary for Xbox Series X, maybe the price will come down by then. So let's all just cool it there and wait and see. Speaking of cooling it, how hot is this thing, right? Oh my goodness, so hot. Guys, okay, let's just get real for a second. This was some just fanboy fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It was just people heard some stuff, they heard the word hot, and then they just ran with it. It's so clear that people are just very anxious about their next gen hardware. Like, I get it. We're all about to spend a lot of money getting new hardware. And when you do that and you look around, you're like, there's this competing thing. And if you're a PlayStation 5 like fanboy and you know that like that's what you want, it's annoying to know that like the Xbox Series X is out there getting good press because it's like, well, dang, I mean, I'm not gonna get that thing, and I don't want you to make me feel like I want it. So I'm gonna look for any reason why it's bad, and I'm gonna amplify that because I don't want anyone around me saying good things about it either. I want everyone around me saying bad things so I can feel better about just sticking to the path of sticking with PlayStation and whatever. But this one was pretty wild because the reality is the opposite of what everyone was saying. So here's the quick breakdown. The Xbox Series X in a 10-minute Hitman 2 test where I had each system set off for about 30 minutes each. No, for at least 30 minutes each. And then I booted them up, immediately started the Mumbai level of Hitman 2, and played that for 10 minutes. And then I started a thermometer, let's see, where is it? This thermocouple thermometer. I'd stick this thing into the hottest vent I could find on each system, about a half-inch deep. And then I would turn it on once the game loaded, and I would let it run for 10 minutes. And the results basically are the max temp that the Xbox Series X hit in this test was 50.4 degrees Celsius. The Xbox One X hit 54.5 degrees Celsius, and the max temp, and then the max temp for the PS4 Pro was 65 degrees Celsius. All acceptable temperatures, all within the known and acceptable operating range for all of these systems. I mean, obviously for the Xbox Series X, but even the 65 degrees for the PS4 Pro, totally acceptable, totally fine. The average temperature during this test for Xbox Series X was 47.7 degrees Celsius, Xbox One X 52.1, PS4 Pro 62.5. PS4 Pro does just run hot. We know this. That's why the fans go crazy all the time because Sony wanted to get a lot of power out of that thing. But that means it was going to run hot. So you just turn up the fans and let it go. That's totally okay. You are allowed to do that. It just means there's going to be a lot of noise. But the impressive thing about the Xbox Series X is that it is whisper quiet. I never hear the thing. It is so quiet all the time. And yet it's running cooler than either of the previous generation hardware. And I think a lot of that just comes down to power efficiency. The Xbox Series X is more power efficient. Obviously, you're using new generation hardware. You're going to be more efficient, and I saw that during this test. I was also looking at the wattage. I only did this for the Xbox Series X and the One X, and during this test, the Series X was using about an average of 165 watts, and then the One X was using 173 watts on average during this test. So yeah, and then keep in mind, like it's less power, but it's running the game faster. It is hitting 60 frames per second on that Mumbai level pretty consistently, where, and this is on high quality mode, where the One X version really struggles to do that. It gets like 40 frames per second. So now we're talking about performance per watt. So we're getting significantly more performance with less wattage. So the performance per watt is much higher with the Xbox Series X. Again, we would expect that. I expect that to be the case with the PS5 as well. Now, this is not the hottest the Xbox Series X got for me. I was able to push it by like trying other games. Before I got a next gen optimized game, the hottest I was able to get it was about 55 degrees Celsius. Then I got Gears Tactics, and that game is optimized for Xbox Series X. Once I started running that and started like getting in menus, for some reason menus, man, that's actually how I got all of these games to hit their max temperatures in the Xbox One X. Like the Xbox One X, I got that up to 60.3 degrees Celsius at its max when I was just trying to do a torture test. That was in a menu in Hitman. It was like, all right, for some reason menus just make these machines go crazy. Still though, the hottest I could get the Xbox Series X, and I spent a lot more time trying to get that hotter than these other two systems. It was very easy to get those ones up to above 60. The Series X, the hottest I could get it was 58.6 degrees Celsius. And that was in Gears Tactics. That was messing around, and that was like running. I was recording stuff using the capture feature on the system, and I was going in between menus and then going between the game and stuff. So yeah, and it was used that game was also using more wattage. That was getting to like 182 watts on average. So clearly more power to power more stuff happening in that game, taking advantage of more of the hardware in the Xbox Series X. But even in that case, still running cooler than last generation. So impressive all around. I'm gonna do my final thoughts here in a second, but let's just rattle off a few other things. The media remote, it works. Plugging in a headset works just fine still. The system still supports Windows Sonic or Sonic for Windows, whatever it's called, and then also Dolby Atmos and also DTS for headphones or whatever. So a lot of options there, DTS X. But if you try to plug in a pair of USB headphones into this port up here, which is USB-C, that doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. Here, see? And then the Sound Blaster Creative Sound Blaster little G5, G6 external USB DAC. That didn't work either. Plugged that into the system. They powered up, but nothing. I don't think the Xbox puts audio out over that kind of USB. At least. So my final thoughts, for now at least. Preview hardware. This is not a review. The Xbox Series X has impressed me. I'm going to send this preview hardware back pretty soon, and I will remember this as like a pretty positive experience of like trying out something new, trying out a big new product, and being like, this thing kind of passed with flying colors in most regards. Now, again, the obvious weak point is the games, and yeah, I get it. We need a reason to justify the big upfront purchase of a console, and you want to have a game right up front that helps you make that helps you kind of push you over that edge. And the greatest engineer in the world is not going to cover that up. There's just no way to like paste over that and be like, well, just ignore that. But to that, I would say though, I don't know why Microsoft would go through all the effort of making such a good console if it wasn't serious about making really good games to go along with it. It doesn't make sense. This isn't the Xbox One. Microsoft didn't know what it wanted to do with that console. It was clear that it didn't really want to focus on games. We felt that throughout the generation, and even a little bit like into Phil Spencer's when he took over. I think he wasn't even sure that Microsoft should be serious about games. That's changed now, and the Xbox Series X is evidence of that. Comparing it to the Xbox One X, it feels like it's coming from a company that is taking gaming very seriously. Like I said up front, this is a machine that you make if you are a company that believes in games. If you're Microsoft and you think the future of Xbox is in delivering great content, great gaming content specifically, then you would design something like the Xbox Series X. And that's what I want from a company like Microsoft. I want them to believe that only through making games they can succeed, because that's when publishers and hardware manufacturers do their best stuff. And I think that's where Microsoft is at. It is on the cusp of being at its best ever in games. And that's exciting. That's because they have a lot of money. They're putting a lot of effort into this. And we know that Nintendo's going to try. We know that Nintendo believes in games. And we know Sony's going to try and that Sony believes in games. How about you, Microsoft? Do you really actually think that this is going to work? And yes, when I see the Xbox Series X, I believe that they think that. And that is exciting. Okay, enough rambling. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I got to edit this super quick, get it posted on the internet, on their YouTubes. You can read the story on GamesBeat.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jeff Grubb. If you like this video, thumbs up, please. If you don't like this video, thumbs down. And tell me why the empirical data that I collected for the temperatures of this Xbox Series X is actually a lie. And the truth is the thing you heard your friend say who listened to a podcast and heard someone say the word hot. Please tell me that in the comments. I can't wait. I just can't wait. Can't wait for that FUD. All right. I need to sleep. Thank you for watching, everybody. Catch you next time. Have a good one. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.